Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Global Happiness Today YouTube channel. Some days back, the elder statesman, Professor Anglo, spoke a lot about the North, where they stand. I talked about the 15 million northern youths that are already in the bushes and the fact that Nigeria is still owing them for 4 years. And whoever emerges, if a northerner emerges, Nigeria should look like Southerner also have decided to speak also on this 2023 election. I must say this election is very dynamic and a lot is at stake. The moment you're going to hear what he said about the two candidates from the South, the chances and what may likely have happen after election crisis and all that. Before we go to the news proper, kindly subscribe to our channel. It's quite a long read, but then it's in print. I'm going to read it as fast as I can. Well, according to the news, Emeka Umogbalasi is the board chairman of International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law. The criminology and civil rights activist of international repute in this interview bared his mind on some development in the political space few days to the presidential election. They asked him, how do you see the political development so far and presently as we inch closer towards 2023 general election? This was what he said. The truth is that what I can describe as some Southeast political bootlickers are spearheading the shrinking of civic space against leading Southeast presidential candidates. And I can tell you that there is a looming youth uprising against them. If the presidency of Southeast extraction is stronghold or truncated, our organization, the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, that's Inter-Society, is deeply fearful that the Southeast political bootlickers are, by their nefarious and immoral conduct, breeding youth uprising against themselves, especially if the 2023 presidency of the Southeast is scuttled and truncated in connivance with their external sponsors and collaborators. They are, as a matter of fact, are spearheading the shrinking of democratic space, civic space against leading presidential candidates of the Southeast origin. Recent findings by Inter-Society have identified political leakers in the Southeast to include sitting governors of most, if not all, the 5 Southeast states, some serving ministers and federal legislators, as well as some former governors, ministers and federal legislators, and troublesome billionaires from the region. These sets of persons are Southeast political bootlickers who engage in brazen act of sabotage against collective interests of the people of the Southeast, fundamentally as they concern their socio-political well-being and security and safety. They are also notorious when it comes to supporting external and internal authoritarianism and tyranny against their own people and landscape. A typical case in point is their being fingered on ongoing grisly acts of sabotage as stopping their region from popularly and credibly producing the Nigerian next president in 2023. They are also vicarious, if not directly fingered, insecurity and other unsafe conditions bedeviling the region in connivance with the ethno-religious enemies of the region, leading to unchecked wanton destruction of defenseless lives and properties of citizens of the region. Then I asked him another question. But there are 4 candidates from the Southeast on the ballot for the presidential race coming up soon. Are you saying that they don't have the support of the Ndibo? This is what he told them. Any reasonable person from the Southeast should be proud of the candidacy of Umade Obi, Nwanyanwu and Osita, the presidential candidates of Southeast extraction, namely Umade Peter Nana of All Progressive Grand Alliance, that's APGA, Nnamdi Charles Osita of Action People's Party, that's APP, Obi Peter Gregory of Labour Party, and Daniel Nwanyanwu Deberechukwu of Zenith Labour Party should be commended and supported for making the South a political region proud ahead of the February 25th, 2023 presidential election. But it is rather sad and disheartening that instead of the Southeast political leaders turning over a new leaf, they have continued to sabotage and work against their own people to the extent of mortgaging and endangering the region and the people's ethnic, religious, and political and economic identities and freedoms by encouraging and supporting external enemies of the region to perpetually conquer and enslave the region or any of its parts thereof, instead of emulating the bold step taken by the South-East presidential candidate and the South-East political leaders are stopping at nothing to ensure that the greatest opportunity of the Southeast in the history of Nigeria to produce the next president in 2023 is scuttled and truncated. Then I asked again, are you saying that the reported destruction of the candidate's billboard is part of the sabotage? He said yes, it is the height of sabotage and act of political intolerance. The Southeast political leaders have also been found to be maddening and futuristically dangerously going about engaging in indiscriminate defacing and destruction of Southeast presidential candidates' billboard and undermining their presidential aspirations of candidates of Southeast extraction, including those fueled by political parties they openly associated with or funded by Southeast political leaders holding elective public offices in trust for the people of the region. It is disheartening, observed especially in Anambra State, where billboards belonging to candidates from outside the Southeast geopolitical region are allowed to be erected and governmentally protected in key strategic public spaces, while those of candidates to the Southeast extraction are indiscriminately defaced or destroyed directly by the government of Anambra State or remotely perpetrated using hired agents, including private and government talks or touts. Campaign advert jingles of non-Southeast presidential candidates are always governmentally promoted or even allowed to be placed in public space, mounted with advert televisions. This is to the extent that there are little or no traces of open promotion by the government of Anambra State of the presidential campaign of the Abga, Peter Nanmadi, an illustrious son of the state. His billboards are also minutely scanty, if not nowhere to be seen across the state, apart from introduction of a dangerous dimension into democratic politicking and vindictive commercialization of electioneering or electoral campaigns by these public office-based political leaders of Southeast extraction. They have also gravely converted their tenured elective offices into private properties and corridor of power for life, and seem to have forgotten that the seeds of discord, political intolerance, and reprisal they are sowing today will boomerang or bounce back on them or society under their watch in no distant time. Electioneering or electoral campaign gambling and deceit have also become the trademark of the political authorities of the five southeastern states, especially in Anambra State, where the state government now leads Free Nnamdi Kanu campaign, when the same state government is second to government of Imo State as IPOB members most wanted or haunted state government in the southeast through the use of Anambra Vigilante Service (AVG). Cases of late-night abduction, disappearance of unarmed citizens in their sleep by AVG across the state over IPOB membership are being reported to interstates from left, right, and center. Such cases include the late-night abduction of 6 defenseless husband citizens abducted from their sleep in the presence of their wives. Whoa. Then I asked, so in this unfortunate scenario, what do you think should be done or any advice you can give at this point in time? He said the Southeast political leaders must turn over a new leaf and refrain from obvious breeding of youth uprising against themselves. The turning over a new leaf must involve total discontinuation from all acts of sabotage and mobilization of stolen and diverted public funds to fund enemy interests in the Southeast region, including creation of sponsorship of insecurity to scare away millions of Southeast voters and conniving with external enemy candidates to ground Southeast on election day, so as to shrink or drastically reduce the voting capacity of the region during the 2023 presidential polls. Finally, the Southeast public office holders engaging in indiscriminate defacing and destruction of INEC-approved candidate billboards and posters, especially those belonging to presidential candidates of Southeast extraction, must be reminded in case they have forgotten or not aware that it is a fundamental constitutional breach of the fundamental human right to political participation, including right to freedom from discrimination and freedom of expression, assembly and association, including right to belong to any statutorily recognized political association and vote or be voted for, as contained in Section 39, 40, and 42 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and the African Charter on Human People's Rights of 1981, signed, ratified, and domesticated by Nigeria in June 1983. Similar provisions in Gross Bridge are also found in the International UN Covenant on Civil and Political Rights of 1976, signed and ratified by Nigeria in 1993. Citizens' entitlement and enjoyment of these sacred human rights also impeach and prohibit any form of commercialization of electoral campaigns, such as imposition and collection of the so-called election campaign billboard fees by any government or its agent. In other words, it is unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional, and morally or conventionally abominable for the government of Anambra State or that of any South-East state to impose vindictive or statutory fees on electoral candidates' billboard and use of the same as a cover-up to deprive him or her and his or her political party of constitutionally guaranteed exercise of their civic and political rights. Wow. Which means internationally it is wrong to collect statutory money, 5 million, to post billboard. All right, a lot of comments are going on here. Let's meet in the comments.